Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce our group. First, my name is Muhammad Afi Aiman bin Ruslan. Metric number A20A1491. Second, Faizah binti Muhammad Aziz. Metric number A20A1327. Last but not least is Muhammad Shafiq bin Shajarupi. Metric number A20A1488. This is list of content. 1.0 Henry Gunn, 2.0 Harry Fail, 3.0 Mary Piker Folek, 4.0 Max Weber, and 5.0 Frederick Winslow Taylor. We go through to 1.0 Henry Gunn. He was born into a peasant family in Maryland in 1861, graduated from Johns Hopkins College in 1880. He was a teacher in Italy after graduating before becoming a planner in 1884, then qualified to become a mechanical engineer. He worked for 7 years from 1887 to 1893 at the Naval Steel Company as assistant department head to Frederick Winslow Taylor. Then he became superintendent of the casting department. Okay, this is for example Gantt chart. It's a tool that provides a graphical or visual representation of what will be done throughout the project. It emphasizes the performance of sequential tasks that make up a project. Then the function of a Gantt chart is to identify the main tasks in the implemented project, estimate project end time, determine the start date of each task element and summary element or terminal elements that must complete as part of a larger task. Okay, we go through the advantage and disadvantage for Gantt chart. Okay, for advantage, first, easy to make and understand and very useful as a communication tool in project implementation. Second, used in the form of simple tasks couldn't bite project whose activity are not very related to small project, so cost all tasks can be done more clearly and perfectly. Third, can be used for scheduling repetitive operation. Next, the specialization of the task can be clearly seen. Last but not least, able to see the progress or movement of work clearly. Okay, next we go to disadvantage. 1. This does not specifically show a dependency relationship between one activity and other, making it difficult to know the impact of the delay of one activity on the overall schedule of the project. Second, it is difficult to make adjustments or improvements or updates when need, as this generally means creating a new block chart. Okay, last, Gantt chart cannot explicitly show the relationship between activities and how one activity results in other activity when the time is delayed or accelerate. So it is necessary to make modification to the Gantt chart. Okay. In conclusion, Hamilton theory are practical in this era, especially when evaluating projects. Scientific management, as defined by Henry Gunn, is a theory that incorporates benchmark into a project in order to complete it efficiently. Last, training has become a crucial component of the management process. Okay, that's all for me. Shafiq will continue our presentation.
The next is the Henry Fail. He was born in Istanbul. He grew up in a patriarchal household, allowing him to attend the best universities in the world. He completed his studies in mine civil engineering, and he got a job in mines of the Coventry Fachbulk Corporation, a major mining and mutual cooperation. Fire was inspired by Frederick Taylor theory, which is originate in the second stage of the Industrial Revolution. Fire created an administrative model with a positive approach that center analyze fact-heavy interaction and iterating law. Fire have 6 management roles focusing on organizing, coordinating, commanding, controlling, and planning. The 14th principle of the management in fire theory is division of work, authority and responsibility, discipline, unity of command, unity of direction, subordinating individual interests, remuneration, the degree of centralization, scale chain, order, equity, stability and tenure of personnel, initiative, and esprit de corps. Next is the advantage and disadvantage of the fire theory. The advantage is the power is concentrated in a few hands. Instruction flow backward through the chain of command while responsibility flow outward. Balance between authority and the responsibility. And the disadvantage, myopic and inward looking with a little regard for the interest of customers and the command and control paradigm not efficient. Next, the conclusion. Henry Fayol was significant for 2 reasons. He prioritized management. He considered how a corporation should be organized. He was one of the first to publish and speak about the management difficulties and frequently referred as the first management thinker. The ideas have grown so ingrained in the modern management that it's hard to realize they were ever novel and groundbreaking. Next is Mary Parker Follett. She was a social worker and counselor from the United States and the author of the books on government, human relations, and management. She was management and political theorist, and she was a graduate from Radcliffe College, and she also called it a mother of the modern management and the art of getting things done by people. There are principles of management to help follow improved management theory: the direct contact, early stage, reciprocal relationship, and continuous process. The main principle is the integration, power with group power. The example of management theory by Mary Parker, they are dominance, one side victory over the other, then compromise, entail each side giving up something in exchange for a meaningful reduction in friction, and integration entails relatively integrating the parties' fundamental desire or interest into the solution. Advantage about the Mary Parker Follett theory. The advantage is leaders are born naturally, sharing profit and losses and integrated problem solving, and disadvantage lack of individual power and no chain of command. The conclusion about the theory of Mary Parker Follett is she discussed the underlying principle of human nature and human values, which she used to guide her practical business leadership and management advice. She said in her book has had a significant effect on today's business management education. In her opinion, management is the art of getting things done via people. However, she emphasized the importance of bringing scientific standards into company administration.
Assalamualaikum, I am Faiza binti Muhammad Aziz. My metric number is A20A1327. I want to present about Max Weber. So, his name is Maximilian Karl Emil Weber. He was born into a prominent family in the Prussian city of Erfurt. Then, came from Westphalian family of cloth trader and industrialists, and went on to become a lawyer and a member of the National Liberal Parliament in Wilhelmine politics. After that, Max Weber received in his education mostly at the University of Heidelberg and Berlin. He was a German sociologist. There are 6 elements of bureaucracy. First, task specialization. Second is hierarchical management structure. Third is formal selection rules. Fourth is efficient and uniform requirement. Fifth is impersonal environment, and the last one is achievement-based advancement. Then, everywhere we go, there are examples of bureaucracies. First is many resident work with state motor vehicle agency, her maintenance organization, financial banking organizations such as saving and loans and insurance providers on a daily basis. Next, selected bureaucrats in the Federal Administration of the United States of America developed advantage of element of bureaucracy by Max Weber is clearly defined job role. Then, hiring based solely on specific qualification, and the last one is meticulous record keeping. Next, disadvantage of element of bureaucracy by Max Weber is the rules are rigid and inflexible. Then, there is limited scope for human resources management. After that, coordinating and communicating is difficult. In conclusion, bureaucracy is founded in the use of force or authority to dominate something. Many of us regard it as a bad term. The idea of bureaucratic management begins the formation of a correct organizational structure. In today's environment, having a pure bureaucratic structure in place is too difficult. The last one is Frederick Winslow Taylor. He was known as the father of scientific management, a forerunner of industrial engineering, and recognized for promoting the scientific organization of work. He was an economist and American industrial engineer. He was born on 20 March 1856 at Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, United States. Frederick Winslow Taylor's system of industrial management known as Taylorism. He earned a degree in mechanical engineering from Stevens Institute of Technology in 1883. Scientific management is concerned with the advancement of science in order to replace the approximation principle or theory of worker knowledge and education. It is centered on the systematic study of people, behavior, and tasks. Then, it is used the strategy of breaking down the work process into subtasks or the smallest possible unit to determine the most effective way to complete a task. There are 4 overriding principles of scientific management. First, each aspect of a person's job is analyzed scientifically, and the most effective strategy for completing the task is devise the best way of working. Then, the most qualified individual for the job is chosen scientifically once more. That is, manager must cooperate with workers. After that, job and duty are clearly divided between management and employers. The advantage of scientific management is enhanced production. Second is ability to control. Third is decrease inaccuracy. Then, cost of production reduced, and the last one is pay system. Next, the disadvantage of scientific management is require huge capital. Next, management takes control. Then, the motivating approach. After that, mechanistic. And the last one is not suitable for teams. In conclusion, Frederick Taylor was one of the first true management pioneers through his scientific examination of the way work is done. It has involved a detailed examination of the movement of workers and the use of the result to simplify works and save effort, but its approach is now outdated.